Hello everybody and welcome to another episode of Tech Motoring. On today's episode, we're going to be taking a look at this product here. This is the Lectron Level 2 NEMA 1450 40 amp EVSE with the NACS plug or the J3400. We're going to dive into this box today. We're going to see what you get. We're going to give it a test today, see how well it holds up, and then we'll do a long 2-week duration test on this charger to see how it holds up. Welcome back everybody. Well, Paul here with another product review, and this is the Lectron Level 2 EVSE. So this is one of quite a few that they actually offer. This one specifically comes with the NACS handle on it, or J3400, or Tesla, for those of you who are not aware of the new acronyms associated with that. So how we're going to do this is we're going to go through the open boxing of this, see what everything that you get in it. Then we're going to go down to the garage, put it through a testing phase for over 3 hours to see how it holds up in a 3-hour scenario. And then we'll be using this over the course of multiple weeks to see how it holds up and how well it functions during that time. So let's go ahead, let's dive into the box, let's see what you get and see if this is something that you're interested in. I'd like to thank Lectron for sending this out to me for this review. And of course, if you're interested in this product, I will have the links down in the description below where you could take a look and see if this is the right EVSE for you. So let's dive into the box right here. Let's take a look at the box. So obviously, Lectron always does a really good job of making their boxes look very nice. Like if you were to walk across this in a retail store, you would probably be like, oh, that's interesting. Let me take a look at that because of how nice the box looks. And I think that's kind of part of the reason, you know, Lectron is pretty successful is they have a nice OOBE or out of box experience. And that's something that I think goes a long way for a lot of people. They see a really nice box, they see a nice descriptions on the box, photos, really high quality photos of it, and that can be something that can sway somebody to go in that direction. But let's take a look at the unit itself. So we have a 40 amp portable EV charger. So this is considered to be a portable charger. So once again, plugs into NEMA 1450, but you could take it with you if you happen to go someplace that has a NEMA 1450. Good up to 40 amps, like I was saying before. We'll jump on the back of the box where we'll go over everything. So it says it comes with the 40 amp charger, of course. And once again, for those of you out there who are a little bit more knowledgeable in this, we understand that this is not a charger. The charger is actually built into the vehicle. This is what we call an EVSE, also stands for Electric Vehicle Supply Equipment. So this supplies the electricity to the charger that's in the car, and the charger in the car is what actually puts it into your battery. So even though we refer to this as a charger, theoretically this is not a charger, but the industry widely accepts these as being called chargers. So I'll be using those two terms interchangeably throughout this video, so please don't be confused. EVSE and charger will mean the same thing in this particular instance. So once again, we have our 40 amp charger, a mounting plate, some screws and anchors, and a carrying case. So once again, going for that mobile charger feel, but also says that it has a mounting plate, which means that we can mount this as a permanent fixture to our garage or wherever you want to put this. So let's go over some of the specs real quick. Up to 40 amps. So that means if you have a NEMA 1450 plug, you will need to have at least a 50 amp breaker. The NEMA 1450 will be 50 amps going to that NEMA 1450 plug in order for you to charge at a consistent 40 amps. So keep in mind that if you have a 40 amp breaker on your NEMA 1450, you won't be able to use this at its full 40 amp. Let's go over a couple more things here. Obviously, it's up to 240 volts AC. We have up to 9.6 kilowatts, which is what that calculates out if you do the 240 volts times your amperage. That's roughly what you get, is about 9.6 kilowatts. A 16-foot cable, so we are looking at a 16-foot cable for this. Now we'll talk more about the cable in a little bit, my opinion on that. NEMA 1450, obviously it shows that it's got the Tesla connector or NACS connector, and then it shows some of the information as far as the weight, 10.5 pounds, the dimensions of it, which, I mean, it's probably not all that important to all you, but it's 11 by 4 by 2.3 inches. And of course, its operating temperature, which is negative 22 degrees Fahrenheit to 122 degrees Fahrenheit, which is pretty typical for these products, EV chargers and EV adapters. That is also a negative 30 Celsius to plus 50 Celsius, in case you were wondering that. So now that we've gone over all that stuff that's on the box, let's jump into the box itself and take a look at what we get. So opening the box, it just gives you this really nice carrying case. And it's sort of like a, it's actually like a hard shell case, actually. Let's take a look at this a little closer. So I feel a little bit of a hard shell protection around this, so it's not just a completely soft case. Yeah, pretty nice. Okay. All right, so let's dive in here. All right, so it looks like the clamshell opens this way, like so. Ooh, gives a nice like net mesh, yeah, nice little area here where you could store a bunch of stuff if you need to. Looks like we got a little bit of a user manual, looks like a little warranty card on there, and then we have the charger right here, right below some, okay, some Velcro straps here. All right, that's pretty simple, pretty easy to use. And yeah, let's just break this out. I can actually do this while I'm on camera because this is actually not all that much. So do that, do that. Once again, nice case. I like it. Nice little hard shell case so you can put it in your car, maybe even stack things on top of it if you had to. Not really worry about crushing anything. It's got this net area here where you can actually, you know, put some extra things like maybe an adapter or something. If you're charging a J1772 vehicle, you can put an adapter there. So yeah, pretty nice. Let's put that off to the side real quick. And here we have the Lectron EVSE or charger. So yeah, that looks pretty nice actually. Pretty simple. As we can see, we don't have any buttons on here. We don't even have a screen. We're actually just given these four little lights here, LED lights that will light up. I assume they're probably RGB, so they probably have different colors associated with them. But we do have a power light, a connect light, a charging light, and an error light. So we'll kind of go over what all those mean in a little bit. Right here, we can see our NEMA 1450 plug. So this looks like a pretty nice plug. It's got the molded head on it, which is really nice. So that feels pretty good. It looks good. It feels pretty good. I like that. Looks like we got a little bit of a pigtail here, about a foot and maybe a little bit more, maybe about 14 inches, 16 inches or so from the NEMA 1450 down to the unit. It's a very light unit. I could feel that it's really, really light. And all plastic, obviously, so just a very simple standard thing. On the back here, we do have some information. Has some information about the lights. Well, there we go. So we have all our light information on the back. Has some warnings here, like do not use if the product is damaged, only used for EV charging, you know, just a couple other things in there as well. So just some information, some of the specifications we went over before. It's also claiming that this control box is IP65 rated, which is very good. It's very good for outdoor rating. So if you want to mount this outside, it's probably going to be perfectly fine to do so. Obviously, you always want to try to keep these out of the line of, you know, water. Like if you can mount it someplace where it's not going to be in direct hit of, you know, water coming in, that's the best way to do it. But if it does get wet, it should be pretty good as far as its intrusion rating for water and also for solid matter, dirt and debris and dust and stuff like that. So that should be pretty good. Now I believe the handle is rated differently, but we're going to double check on that in just a moment here. So let's take a look at that handle. Since I've already teased it, let's take a look at it. And there, oh, well, that's interesting. Okay, interesting. All right, so we do have here the Lectron handle. Ah, that is a button on that. Okay, so it appears we do have a button here. So it's good to see that they have the button there. Occasionally I come across some EVSEs that don't put that button there. And I think if you're trying to sell this to a Tesla owner, that's one of the things that they're going to be looking for is that button, because it's just natural. It's just easy to use, and it's what you're used to from not only Tesla superchargers, but also home charging if you use, you know, your Tesla mobile connector, for instance, or if you happen to have a wall connector in your garage, that button is just something you're used to. So I think a lot of people like to see that there. So that's cool. So it also comes with this little dust cap here, which snaps over the edge here. So that is there. And I think the reason they include the dust cap is because they do not include a holster. So there's no way to holster this charging handle, I should say. They do have the mount for the box, the control box itself, but it does not appear that they have a cable wrap, actually, now that I think about it, the cable wrap or the holster for the Lectron plug here. So we'll have to make do with that during our testing, but you know, it's always good to see, even with portable units, like if, for instance, if they're saying that, hey, you can use this as your main unit in your garage, your primary unit, well, they should give you a way to at least organize the cable in that matter as well. So that's a little interesting. They only give you a dust cap, so you're gonna have to find a place to just hang this. Or of course, you could buy third-party holsters, of course. Let's take a look at the NACS side here, or the J3400 handle, and it looks pretty good. Pins look okay. I don't see any issues with them. They seem to be lined up with the casing pretty well. It is a little bit of an interesting handle compared to like the Tesla wall connector. For instance, I'll grab this off the wall real quick. We could put these side by side. So you can see there's a little bit of a difference between them. They kind of went with the same color scheme, the black handle with the silver insert, as you can see here with the Tesla one. But the handle of the Lectron appears to be a little thicker as it comes up close to the end, and then they have to thin it out for the actual Tesla side there. So you can see that there's a little bit more of a thickness to the Lectron one. Not that that's a really big deal, but as far as the ergonomics of holding this, feels fine. I mean, it's not something you hold on to a very long time, but you just want to kind of be able to grab it comfortably and then plug it into the car. And for that, I think it works perfectly fine. So there's that. So let's jump into a couple of the other objects we have right here. And so we have some screws and some anchors to be used with your cradle mount here, which we'll get that installed in a little bit down in the garage. So that's basically how it goes on there. Just mount this to the wall, and then this sits in like that. And yeah, okay, so that's how that works. You just have to kind of slide it over that edge of the cable. We'll show that downstairs in the garage. Looks like we have a warranty card here. So it looks like your warranty, let's see, extend your warranty to cover mechanical and electrical failures for up to 3 additional years after the manufacturer warranty expires. Interesting. So I bet you that's something that you can pay for to extend that warranty. In fact, while we're on that subject, let's find out what the actual warranty is. I believe, is it in the book? It should be in the book here. All right, so it took a little doing on their website, but I did find where they state that the standard warranty for this product is 2 years. And then I guess you can pay for an extended warranty, which will extend it an extra 3 years. So an up to 5-year warranty for this. And I think 5 years is pretty fair. I don't know what the cost is for it, but I'm sure you could look it up. You could see how much that is and whether or not it's worth to you. But 2 years, I think, is pretty good for a warranty for an EVSE like this. Of course, if you want to extend it, you can. All right, so the last thing we want to go over real quick is this, which is a booklet that shows some of the information about the charger, you know, what the lights mean, of course, and just basic how to plug it into the NEMA outlet, how to plug it into your car. Really, nothing too advanced. I think all of you out there pretty much know how to use these EVSEs by now. Of course, it has the specifications that we went over before, and it also has some troubleshooting as well. So just in case you're a little confused as to what some of the lights are doing, there is some information in there for that. So really nice. Anyway, we got everything here. We'll take a look at all this once we get down to the garage. Last thing I want to talk about real quick is this cable here. So this is a 40 amp capable charger. So we'll just compare this to the mobile connector here of the Tesla, and it is a little bit thicker. Now, of course, this mobile connector is only good for 32 amps. So we are bringing up that amperage quite a bit. And so we are pushing about 40 amps to this cable. Overall, I got to say the cable thickness is actually not too bad. I think it's pretty fair. And it looks like it's probably going to be okay to maneuver and bend. I don't think there's really going to be any issues with that. But of course, as we test it, we will know more. Anyway, now that we've kind of gone through everything you get here in the box and the carrying case, let's go down to the garage and let's get this installed, and then we'll discuss how we're going to do our next testing procedure. One other thing I wanted to point out before we head down to the garage is its certifications or its safety mechanisms. Now, it does claim to have some safety mechanisms in place in the event that something were to go wrong, if there was a short or something like that.
and it does claim to have a certification. Now, the only certification I can find on this is an FCC certification. In fact, it's right here in the booklet that shows that it is FCC certified. Now, FCC is not a safety certification. It does not mean that this has been safety certified by the FCC. The only thing the FCC is for wireless interference, basically. So, in other words, the FCC says that this complies with their standards as far as what this will interfere with or not interfere with while it's being used. And that is not a safety certification. So we don't have any certifications as far as like an ETL or, something equivalent to that. We don't see that. So I just want to let you know that in case you're looking for something that has a safety certification, this is only FCC, not ETL or any of those other ones, the CE one as well. It does not have any of those as far as I can tell. Typically, they would put them on the box someplace where it shows that it's certified, but I'm not seeing that there. I'm not seeing it on the actual box itself. It's not in the manual, so I don't believe it has any other certifications.
All right, everybody, you join me down here in the garage the following day so we can start the test of the Lectron Level 2 EVSE here at maximum of 40 amps. And we'll be using the NACS connector on the end of this here today. So a couple things to go over before we start testing the unit. As you can see here, we have it mounted to our wall using the included cradle or mount, and we have it plugged into our NEMA 1450 outlet. Now, just to kind of give you an idea of how this mounts, if you are having it on the wall like this, you just have your mount screwed to your wall. You just go like this and drop it in the mount, push the top in, it kind of does this little snap in, and then you could plug it into your NEMA 1450 outlet. So that's pretty much how that goes. Really simple, really easy. Seems to be pretty secure. It doesn't really I don't think it's going to really go anywhere considering it's plugged in as well. Now that we got it plugged in, let's flip the breaker on. All right, and now we have our unit on. So it looks like we have been given a red light here under power, which I believe is correct. And then once again, we have multiple other lights here based on what the current status is. So if we have connected to the car, if we have a car charging, and if we have an error, then we will see that all on the screen. Now, once again, I'll kind of go over some of the lack of features on this. So we do not have any type of screen here to show us what's currently going on, the speed of the unit. You can't adjust the amperage coming out of this unit. So obviously they want you to do that from within the vehicle itself. So once again, if you're charging a Tesla, no big deal. All Teslas have the charging ability to adjust in the car and of course scheduling as well. And then of course you also don't have any type of delay timer on here. So it's another thing you have to consider as well if you're looking to do like a EVSE with a timer built into it or some sort of smart function. This is not going to be the one. But once again, most of that function comes within the vehicle if you're charging a Tesla. In the future, if you have a vehicle that is not a Tesla and it does not have those features, but it does have the NACS port, you'll have to reconsider if you're changing up your charging situation there based on peak, off-peak hours, so on and so forth. But for the most part, most cars nowadays will have that all built in. So having a charger with all that functionality is not really as necessary as it once was. So once again, I have just a temporary cable wrap here just to keep it clean in my garage. We have the cable wrapped around it. Now, once again, this claims to have a 16-foot charging cable, and I did measure it from the end of our NACS cable here all the way to the end of our NEMA plug, and I can confidently tell you that they are lying about that distance, but in a good way. And what I mean by that is I measured from the end of this NACS plug just to the bottom of the charging unit here, and it was just over 17 feet of charging cable. It's like 17 feet 2 inches. So they actually give you an extra foot over the advertised length, which is awesome to see. I can't really tell you how many times I've ever seen that in my life, considering it's usually, from what I've seen, a lot of companies measure from the very end of your charging handle to the NEMA plug. And sometimes that even comes up just a little bit short. But this was actually from the charging handle to the bottom of this charging unit, which is the true measurement in my opinion, because really you shouldn't count this as part of it because this doesn't really move. This is very stationary. So from the bottom of this charging unit to the end of this handle, 17 feet And then from there, if you want to add this extra 2 feet and a few inches, you can do that. You can theoretically say that this is about 19 feet of charging if you were to have this kind of just flailing out on its own. But yeah, really nice to see that Lectron, brought it to the game, and said, hey, we're going to give you not only what we advertise, but actually a little bit more. And so 17 feet, I think, is pretty good. And I'm happy with that. Now, of course, depending on your situation, 17 feet might not necessarily be long enough. There are other portable chargers on the market that do have 20-foot cables, even possibly 25-foot cables. So depending on your situation, if a 16 or technically 17-foot cable is not long enough, you might have to look for something else with a slightly longer cable. But once again, keeping in mind that this is a 40 amp charging capable EVSE here. So if you're looking for something with a longer cable, you're either going to find something with a thicker cable, or you're going to find something that doesn't do 40 amps, maybe 32 amps, so on and so forth. Really, you have to determine for yourself whether or not you want a longer cable, or a thicker cable, or a smaller cable but slower charging speed. You really have to determine that for yourself. And that's why I do a lot of these EVSE reviews, because sometimes you don't think about that when you're buying one of these. You just say, look at the length of the cable, look at the charging speed, and I'm good with it. But there's a lot of other functions you could be missing by doing that. So now that we have this all wrapped up, we're going to go ahead and take a look at this handle real quick. Once again, we have the nice handle here with this little, at least they give you a dust cap. That's really nice to see. I don't think I've ever seen a NACS handle with a dust cap before, but at least they thought about it. Doesn't look like it's a great one. I think it falls off pretty easily, to be honest with you, but at least they give you a dust cap. So we got our handle here. Everything looks pretty good. We got our cable wrap. We got our vehicle right here behind the camera. So we're going to go ahead and get you turned around. We're going to point you over to the car. And just to kind of give you an idea of what we're going to be doing, we're going to be charging up my Tesla Model 3 Performance here at a full 40 amps, what this is capable of doing, for at least 3 hours. And what we're going to do is we're going to take temperatures of everything. We're going to give you a baseline temperature, because I think it's about 60 degrees out right now. So we're going to give you a baseline temperature of all the cabling and everything. And then when we come back in those 3 hours, we're going to retake temperatures and see exactly where we're at with that, and see if it's beyond what I feel comfortable, or if it's well within the limits of, code and whatnot. All right, let's get you turned around. Let's get you plugged into the car. We'll see how this all feels going into the car, and we'll go from there. All right, so really quickly, we're just going to grab some baseline temperatures just to give you an idea. So we'll be taking temperatures from this here, which is currently about 67, 66 degrees. We'll be taking some temperatures from this unit here, which is about the same right now, because once again, we haven't started charging the car. We'll be taking temperatures from the handle during our testing, all the way up, and even parts of the cable as well. So as you can see, we are looking at about 68, 69 degrees of ambient air temperature right now. So we're going to go ahead and get this plugged into the car, and then we are going to see how it does after 3 hours of charging. All right, everybody. Well, you join me down here by the car, and as you can see, we have our Lectron Tesla handle here, or NACS, or J3400, however you want to consider this nowadays. So we have our handle here. Once again, pretty decent grip texture, very plasticky, but I mean, once again, for the couple seconds you're going to be using this, I think it'll do the trick. Take our dust cap off here, and now once again, we should have a functional button on this handle. So let's see if this works. I'm not getting anything from it. Let's unlock the car. Okay, let's see. There is definitely a button here. You can hear a button. So my assumption at this point is that this button is probably not going to work for opening up this charge port. That is my feeling right now, because it does not appear to do that. So I'm thinking that what this will do, though, is it will cut off charging when we push that button down. So we'll see that at the end of the charging session here. So in the meantime, let's go ahead and open up the door like so. We're going to take this handle. We'll see how it inserts into the vehicle. Ooh, that was actually really nice. As we could hear, our little dust cap is bumping up against the car there, so that could be maybe slightly better design, but that's fine. It's rubber. We are charging up, and I am going to verify that we are ramped up to a maximum of 40 amps. And yep, it stops at 40 amps, which is correct. And so now it will be charging up for the next 3 hours. Let me do a time check here. All right. So we'll be back here in about 3 hours to see how well this does. We'll see you then. And just so everybody can see what we're looking at over here, we have our power button that is on to let us know we have power to the unit. We have our connect button to let us know that we are connected to the vehicle. And we have a green charging light that's blinking to let us know that we are actually charging the vehicle. So when this turns solid green, that usually means that we are looking at a fully charged vehicle or a vehicle that has stopped accepting charge. So for instance, if we have the car set for 80% and this hits 80%, this will turn solid green to indicate that we have stopped charging while connected to the vehicle. But that's all that means. And of course, our error light is off, which is a good thing. And yeah, so we're going to keep an eye on this for 3 more hours and see how that goes. Alrighty, well, we are 3 hours into our test now, so let's go ahead and just give ourselves some temperatures here. So as we saw before, we were looking at about 68 to 70 degrees ambient temperature. Outside temperature has gained a couple degrees since then. So let's go ahead and start from the very edge here, which is the NEMA plug here. So we can see we're up to about 98 degrees there. So roughly 30-degree increase. About 100 right on the cable as it comes out of the NEMA plug. And we'll come down here. We see it's about 90, yeah, about 101, 102. Go down a little further, about 105, right about this part right here. So yeah, you can feel it's a little toasty, but well within the range. So let's go ahead and just hit some random parts of the charging unit. So yeah, we're seeing about 115, 16 there. 117. We'll go lower on the unit here. And it's getting a little cooler. Yeah, so right around the center of this unit here, yeah, there's a little bit of a hot spot right in that area there. Not at all like over what the, capabilities of this unit is, but definitely a little bit warm there. Let's go ahead and try it over here on the sides. Yep, that's pretty typical there. I am curious to see what this side is, though. Okay, roughly the same, 108 there. All right, let's get down on the cable here. We're seeing about 108 there. Let's get on this part of the cable, about 105-ish there. And then we have the cable that's running across the garage floor here. And let's try right here on this part of the cable. Very cool on this side. That's good to see. And let's get up on the handle. Still pretty cool. Let's go further up on the handle. Getting cooler. Look at that, 78, 79 degrees way up there on the handle. Let's try the side of the handle. About 80 degrees as well. Yeah, about 80 degrees. So the handle is actually really cool. In fact, I would almost say that that's probably a little cooler than what the actual Tesla handle would be after about 3 hours of charging. So let's just do a quick touch test here. Yeah, I mean, you can't even feel. It feels like just ambient temperature. Touch the cable. Cable feels good. And so same with this side here. The cable is warm here. So obviously as it's traveling, it's not getting any warmer. It's definitely cooling down as it's traveling the length of this cable. But really the biggest things here is this thick pigtail here has got a little bit of temperature to it. But once again, as far as the touch test goes, it's not hot where you have to worry about it. And the temperatures are well in line with any safety concerns. Awesome. All right, cool. Let's jump over to unplugging the vehicle. All right, everybody. Well, 3 hours of charging. As we can see, temperatures were well within the reasonable, temperature range, I would say. In fact, I would even be even more impressed the fact that this handle here is actually it's actually pretty cool. So really not much heat transfer from the handle part down to this part of the cable, and then it's warmer along the side of where the plug is and where the charging unit is, and then you can see how it cools through the cable as it gets to the charging handle here, which means that they probably did a good job of sizing the copper inside of this cable to, the proper size. So yeah, looks good after 3 hours. So let's go ahead and unplug the car. We'll see how this feels. I'm also curious about this button to see what that does. So let's go ahead and hit the button real quick. Okay, the button does function to disconnect the charge. So that's good to see. Door is closed now. We'll put the dust cap back on, like so. And that is it for our charging test for today. So now what we're going to be doing is utilizing this as our primary charging solution here in the garage for the next 2 weeks. what we'll do is we'll charge up the Tesla vehicle with it, and we will charge up our J1772 vehicles with this with an adapter, obviously. So we'll be using this pretty much primarily to charge all of our cars, and then we'll see you back here in 2 weeks, and we'll let you know how it went. All right, everybody. Well, you join me back here about 3 weeks after using the Lectron 40 amp NEMA 1450 with the NACS plug here. And the reason we did 3 weeks is because I was actually out on a trip for about 5 days, and so that took up a little bit of that 2 weeks. So I wanted to make sure I gave it a proper testing during that time. So once again, we utilized this 40 amp EVSE here to not only charge up my Tesla Model 3, we also used it to charge our Ford Mustang Mach-E, obviously with an adapter, and of course our Fiat 500e also with an adapter. And so I have to say it's held up pretty well. We haven't had any issues, no error codes, no issues whatsoever with this charger here. It's actually worked really well for us. So let's go over the charger overall again, and we'll talk about some of my likes and my dislikes with the charger. So NEMA 1450 plugs into your outlet here. We have our EVSE here that mounts to the wall using the included plastic bracket here. So once again, not the most premium thing I've ever seen with a portable charger, but at least it's something to get you to, mount it to the wall and stop it from, basically just swinging in the wind, if you will. And so we do have that mounted to this included cradle. We do have our 4 indicator lights here on our charger to let us know the current status. So we have our power light that tells us it's plugged in, it has power. We have our connect light that shows that it is connected to a vehicle. Then of course we have our charging light that shows that it's actively charging a vehicle, or if it's fully charged, it also gives you that indicator as well. And then we have an error light. Once again, I didn't see that error light during any of my charging sessions over the past 3 weeks, which is good to see. And of course this small portable unit works pretty well, but of course it does lack some features that some people might want. For instance, it has no smart capability, so it's not Wi-Fi enabled. You can't control it from anywhere. It is just strictly this unit here, and then you control it basically by plugging it in, unplugging it, or whatever controls you have in the car to adjust your amperage range or your scheduling or anything like that with charging. So that being said, if you're planning on using this with a car, let's say with an adapter, and that car doesn't have a lot of functionality, you might want to think of a different charger so you can adjust the amperage, so you can adjust the timer on it, because some of these chargers, especially the portable ones, come with those timers where you can come home from work, hit the button to say start charging in 4 hours. In 4 hours it kicks on, starts charging your car overnight, and then you charge your car overnight, because primarily you would do that because of specific type of restrictions on electricity usage at that time, or maybe you get some off-peak rates. So you do not have any of that particular functionality, but as a Tesla owner, you're probably already used to having that functionality built into the car. And of course at a Tesla, that's a second to none type of feature. Really does work easily and well in the Tesla vehicle. So once again, future NACS cars, when they do come out, this might be a little bit different depending on that functionality in their car. And then once again, we have a claimed 16-foot cable with this. And of course, as I mentioned before, it was actually a little bit more than 16 feet. It was actually about 17 feet from the end of our NACS plug to the bottom of the charger. And then of course you get this couple feet here with the unit and this pigtail that goes into your NEMA plug. So once again, I like to see that they advertised and basically delivered more than what they said, which is always great. Obviously, it's always good to get a little bit more for your money. And that's really good to see. The only thing I would say I would prefer is a slightly longer cable just in general. I usually like to see at least 20-foot cables, especially for portable chargers, because when you're portable, sometimes you don't know where you're going to be or how far the plug's going to be from your car. And so sometimes you like to have a little bit extra length on the portable chargers. Now, obviously, there's other reasons for not having super long cables on portable chargers. One is being weight. You have to save weight. So you cut down on, multiple feet of that cable, then you do save some weight by doing so. So I could see why some people may want to have longer cables, but some people don't necessarily need the longer cables. Some people know exactly how they're going to be utilizing this unit. Some people won't even take it with them. Some people will just use this in their garage as their primary charger. and they know exactly how long that cable needs to be. But depending on what your needs are for your application will depend on whether or not this is the proper charger for you. And of course, once again, if you are interested in this product, look down in the description below the video and you'll take a link right to this product and you can take a look at it for yourself. And then once we get through this cable that is lacking a cable wrap solution and a holster for this handle, once again, this is mine that I just hung up here. This is a little bit of a shortcoming in my opinion, because for the people who do use this as their primary at home, it would be really cool for them to include some sort of cable wrap and some sort of really nice NACS solution for holstering this, as opposed to like what I've been doing. I've just been basically throwing it like this. Of course, it does come with the dust cover on the end of it, which is a nice little touch. So this way it's not just out there in the elements. But I would really like to see some sort of holster for the NACS handle, and even a cable wrap would be nice. But once again, you can buy these things pretty cheap. So let's get down to the actual NACS handle here. So now I was thoroughly impressed with the handle. It felt perfectly fine, it had decent ergonomics. This is a pretty hard plastic. There really is no rubber or rubberized texture on this whatsoever. So you are basically holding a solid piece of plastic basically. So there is nothing as far as grip here. Then again, even the Tesla one that's like right here, basically just plastic anyway, because you're only holding this for a few seconds. So really it's not a big deal. The pins all felt pretty good. They slid into the car perfectly fine. They came out perfectly fine. And I was really impressed with that. So everything kind of plugged in real nicely with this charger. And the other thing I will mention that I'm a little bit disappointed in is the button. So it's nice that they included a button on the NACS handle. However, I was a little disappointed that this button did not open up the charge port of the vehicle. And I tried it every single day. Every day I plugged my car in, I would hit the button, try to get the car to open up the flap, but it just did not work. So obviously it's missing that small wireless communication that is needed in order to tell the Tesla, hey, open up your flap, I'm about to plug in a charging handle. And so it was missing that functionality, which was a little bit of a bummer. So when you hit that button, it discontinues charging the vehicle, and then you could just pull the handle right out of the vehicle. You don't have to stop charging from your app or stop charging from inside the car. You could do it from that button, which was a nice touch. But once again, I really like to see the ones that where you hit the button to open up the charge flap door. All right, so let's give my final verdict on the Lectron Level 2, the NEMA 1450 plug with the NACS handle on it. And let's talk about my final thoughts and opinions on this. So I think, number one, this is coming from a very solid company. Lectron makes a very good product, and pretty much everything they've manufactured over the past 5 years has been a really solid product. It's, of course, not without some shortcomings, like, once again, I figured they would have had this down by now with the button. Maybe a little bit more thought on the cable length would have been nice, maybe like an extra 3 feet. The inclusion of a cable wrap and a holster for this would probably go just a little bit further in my mind for a lot of people, you know, especially if it's their first EVSE or their first charger. They want that all-in-one solution that they could just set up and have it ready for them. Now, of course, some people might be utilizing this as the one that they just leave in their car. You know, they say, I'm not going to buy the Tesla one. I'll buy this one because it's got a NEMA 1450 outlet. This is just when I'm on the road and traveling. So obviously, everybody's scenario could be different for that. But I would have liked to see some of that stuff included for this particular price point. But overall, Lectron makes a solid product. I think it works really well. I didn't have any issues. The temperatures during all my testing were perfectly fine. No worries whatsoever with any of the temperatures. So Lectron does seem to make a pretty solid product. So for that, I'm impressed. And for those other little qualms, not a big deal. But once again, for some people, it could be a deal breaker. And of course, if you're watching this video, you're probably interested in this product to some degree. And so it's always good to know that these things are or are not included in that product. But anyway, I'd like to thank Lectron very much for sending me out this charger, or EVSE, for review. Once again, thoroughly impressed with Lectron's legacy in the EV market, and I'm still impressed with their products moving forward. And once again, if you're interested in this product, you can take a look down in the description below the video. We'll have a link right there for you to click on so you can get to this product and see for yourself if this is the one that you are interested in. Anyway, I'd like to thank all of you very much for watching this episode as well. And of course, we will see you on the next one. Thanks again for watching. We'll see you soon. Have a good one. And remember, welcome to the future. Welcome to tech motoring.